everybody, and welcome to 20 Minutes on Ice Summer Edition. It's the hottest edition of the summer. I'm your host, Ryan, and as always, in the co-host position is Nick. We've got a scorching episode for you today, so let's get right to our opening face-off. Today on 20 Minutes on Ice, we're going to be going over all the top headlines from the offseason. We have Montreal drafting Logan Mailloux. We have Philipp Grubauer signing with the Seattle Kraken, Marc-Andre Fleury traded, and a bunch of other news and notes that we wanted to touch on and go over our opinions before the summer ends, before all of a sudden, next thing you know, teams are reporting back to their cities for the upcoming training camp and a full 82 game schedule, full travel back to normal. We'll see how that goes. So, but first, my co-host, he was our official flag bearer at the closing ceremonies, Nick McVicker, I should say his name right.
Wow, took you a little bit there, right?
I think my mouth has gotten fatter over the summer holiday and it's harder to say words, but you're
2 weeks and you can't speak, folks. Sorry.
You're back from your Olympic assignment. How was everything?
It was good. It was interesting. I was just doing an entry-level position with CBC, and it was a great experience, something that I would highly recommend anyone who wants to get in and on the ground floor. I was doing shot listing, and it was a lot of fun. Got to watch some very interesting events. I did a lot of the soccer. Go figure.
Good for you, though.
Me, soccer? No. But I ended up doing like surfing and taekwondo, a little bit of karate, table tennis.
Oh, that's cool.
Handball is a very fun sport. If you ever get a chance to watch it, like highly recommend. Highly recommend.
I know handball from in the yard with friends, right?
This is handball on steroids.
Yeah, I'm sure. But yeah, from a Canadian perspective, for me, I didn't watch much of the Olympics. I wasn't interested at all.
It was also when you were sleeping.
That's also true. But even even catching up, I mean, it just wasn't for me this year, but I did manage to catch the women's football final.
That was stressful.
Yeah, from a Canadian perspective, that turned out okay.
So I was working that morning. I didn't have that game, but I was working that morning, right? And I finished all the events that I was supposed to shot list, and I messaged my supervisor. I'm like, hey, like, do you need me to do anything else? Like, I'm happy to do another one. And he's like, nah, just turn on CBC, watch the game. I'm like, oh, it's already been on. So I took a step away from my laptop. I started pacing the floor. I got so stressed I was lying down on the floor watching the game at one point. I know some of the athletes on the team personally. So it was so amazing to watch their run through the tournament, beating the U.S. in the semifinals. I thought that was where it ended. I thought they were going to get silver, honestly, just because you beat the U.S. You beat the number one team. And then they go into the final, and they end up pulling out the win with Sweden. Sinclair gets the penalty to tie the game. Fleming takes it. Beautifully done. Goes to a shootout. I thought it was over after the second shooter. I'm like, oh, we're screwed. No one's hitting the net.
Those kind of events really make me yearn for a true best on best international hockey event.
Absolutely.
And something that's consistent, too. Give us every 3 years, every 4 years.
Speaking of which, Women's World Hockey Championship coming up soon. Yeah, super excited about that.
Yeah, that should be good. Canada hasn't won gold in that event in a decade or something like that.
It's been a while. It's been a fair time, right? And we need to change that.
And I can't say I've been following, but from reports, it looks like they're going with a bit of a younger team.
They definitely are. They definitely are.
Guard, so
actually, one of my buddies from school's younger sister, who used to play on Ohio State, actually made the team. So we're all excited. We're all probably gonna watch it together because how often do you get to see your friend's sibling actually on a national team?
And it'll be great to see if there's any byproducts of the NWHL, and maybe that brings some notoriety to the tournament. Same with the secret Dream Gap Tour or whatever it was called, with the players that maybe aren't necessarily want to play in that league. But there was rumors that they were negotiating, but that's gone kind of quiet now, and that just may have to do with the summer. But
I'm honestly hope. I don't think it'll happen for next season, but I do hope the season after this upcoming one, there's a way to merge those, because we're missing out on seeing the best hockey players play against the best hockey players consistently, and it's unfortunate. But that's neither here nor there. That's not what we came to talk about today, Rye.
No, today we have a few topics from the offseason to get to, and I think the number one for me, there's other number ones, but the number one for me is the Marc-Andre Fleury traded to Chicago, and it became a bit of a saga because Vegas forgot, decided not to, couldn't sack up and tell Fleury that he was on his way to Chicago, and he ends up finding out on social media that he's traded, and even his uh, boisterous agent Alan Walsh even tweeted something out like apparently Marc-Andre Fleury's been traded to Chicago. And then of course the whole week long saga, is he going to play? He might retire. He decides to play. Just it, I guess in the end what comes out of this for me is a bit of a red flag on Vegas' side. They're a young franchise, but maybe they're still learning how to treat their stars and the people that help make them. They're learning to treat them properly still.
Yeah, honestly, like this whole saga is unnecessary. They traded Fleury for basically nothing. The player that they got back, they ended up loaning back to Chicago's farm system anyway. So he's not even going to play a game in their system before going back to Chicago. It's
They
a cap dump. I get that, but you don't tell the player. Like, right,
that
that is unacceptable to me. That is not cool. You do not isolate a player like that because he just got you consistently for the last 3 years. Not only into the
four.
playoffs, but deep into the playoffs. Yes, Leonard as well. I'm not going to take anything away from Leonard. I think he's had a great couple seasons in Vegas as well. But this was the guy you picked first. You saw his name on that list. He must have been the first pick of that draft.
He was the one selling one of the first players there selling jerseys with a name on the back. Giving people
We all
a
knew he was going there.
a reason to buy tickets.
He was the
Not that
face.
Yeah. So he deserved, and he got you a Stanley Cup final. He won the Vezina Trophy with your team last year. There's only ever been 1 year where they haven't made it to the semifinals of the playoffs, and he's been part of all of that. So he deserved a little more than finding out, way more than finding out on social media. I mean, that trade shouldn't have even proceeded without at least letting him know this is what's happening, this is what we're doing. And to me, it's a team that couldn't face the music, couldn't sack up and tell this player. They didn't know how to tell this player that they were trading him.
Well, it's also tough because he had a no trade clause where he had to submit 10 teams on his no trade list. I guess he thought they would never trade him to Chicago or something because like the whole thing was a mess. I think it's a gong show. I didn't even think of it the way you did, Rye, where is Vegas now not just a young franchise that doesn't really know what they're doing? That's a great question. I really didn't think of it that way, but now we might have to.
You would hope that this is a learning experience. I mean, that's cliche to say, but
Yeah.
you hope this is a learning experience where they go, okay, we handled it poorly the first time around. We're going to be better because we don't want to be that association. I understand that they want to move on from Fleury, go with Lehner. He's younger, and they think they're going to get an equal performance, if not better, from Lehner for a longer period of time. So I didn't like it, but I understand it. It's part of the business.
Yeah.
But, it's just, it needed to be handled better. One thing, though, he's on his way to Chicago.
And the board went up a little early, but
With the dark cloud, though, hanging over the Blackhawks. I wonder if there was a bit of hesitancy. I wonder if that played into his decision at all when he was thinking, am I going to play this upcoming season or am I going to retire? Because do you want to be around that franchise when those are going to be questions about the cover up of the sexual abuse from 10 or 11 years ago? And
I
I
don't.
mean,
I mean, in my opinion, I don't think it changes anything because, as we talked about, most of the people that were involved in the cover up aren't with the organization anymore, right? Right? There's a
well,
couple. There's a
the
couple.
GM, yeah,
Yeah,
the GM is under investigation. Stan Bowman, he
I
was
know,
there.
but it sounds like pretty much everyone else is gone.
That's true. It's a possible distraction. I mean, it's a very
But it can't be any worse than what Fleury has been going through for the last year and a half with Vegas after the Lehner After the picture with the sword in the back, everything has been a drama saga with Fleury. And even if you go back to Pittsburgh when he was in his last year there, it was all drama. Everyone's like, "Oh, are they going to protect him? Are they going to let what's his who's
It was Matt Murray.
Murray, thank you. I'm like, who's the Ottawa goalie now?" Right? The whole thing was drama. So he's had drama-filled seasons like for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
I don't think that was going to play a factor in it, especially because now he's guaranteed to start, in my opinion. There's no question.
I think so, yeah.
There's no question.
Yeah, he'll get the numbers. He's the Vezina Trophy winner. I mean, how do you say whatever? It could happen, but
I like Lankinen. I think he had a great year as a rookie, but I'm picking Fleury's my starter.
50-32, that kind of split maybe, or 55, 27.
Just surprised they didn't trade Subban back.
Wouldn't that would have been funny, but and that guy, I mean, it's hard to say, but it looks like at this point Malcolm Subban can't crack the NHL.
Jordan hasn't yet either, so I'll give you credit, but you're wrong.
Staying on the Chicago train, we got Seth Jones, who was traded before the re-signing window, so he's essentially a member of the Hawks, and so he was able to re-sign with them for 8 years as opposed to the 7 years based on the CBA. But all of a sudden, Chicago Blackhawks, you got Seth Jones as your number one defenseman. Seabrook's gone, obviously. Duncan Keith is gone. You got Marc-Andre Fleury in net, he's a little older. I still think he has some time left. But are the Hawks suddenly got a rocket pack strapped to them and they're bursting out of the rebuilding phase? It seems like it.
It seems like I believe they're out of the rebuilding phase, but I think that also has to do with the division that they're in. I don't think the division that they're in for next year is going to be very good. And, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Rye, but they're in a division with St. Louis, Colorado, Dallas, Nashville, Winnipeg, Minnesota, and Arizona now, right?
Yeah.
Arizona gets put into the Central, so that Seattle goes in the Pacific.
So
can you name more than 3 teams that are better than Chicago in that division right now, Rye? More than 3 teams is the key word.
I'll take Winnipeg, maybe St. Louis.
Okay. And Colorado.
So that last spot could be up for grabs, but St. Louis could very easily be in that group too, fighting for those.
That's what I'm saying, right? Like, depends on what St. Louis does, because I don't think they're that good of a team. I think they are not the same team we saw 2 years ago, not the same team that won the Cup 3 years ago. It's not the same St. Louis team. So if I'm looking at this division, it's Colorado.
The door's open.
Winnipeg, St. Louis, Chicago. Maybe throw Minnesota in there depending on how depending on how they build on their season last year, because they had a very good year. I know they've lost a couple pieces. Can they build on that? Maybe they can go a bit higher. And then Nashville, Dallas, and Arizona are just like, I see nothing from them. I know Dallas was hurt a lot of the year, but I still just don't see them competing with these other teams. And we thought Chicago had a good year. Chicago surprised us a little this year, the way they started. Now they're getting better players. Like that decor, Rye. Like, listen to the decor now. You got Seth Jones, Caleb Jones' brother, who had a very good year in Edmonton. Not as many minutes, so he'll need to step into a role that he might not be fully comfortable with. But then you got Calvin DeHaan, who was a solid player last year. Jake McCabe, who I know you're not 100% sold on, but I think he's a solid player. Connor Murphy, who's one of your assistant captains and had a great year last year for Chicago. And then you just got to fill one spot with either Riley Stillman, Wyatt Kaliniak, who I've never heard of, I'll be honest. And you have a couple guys in the minors like Nick Baudin, right? These are guys that could step up and be that 6th player. But you're only filling one spot. The other 5 are guaranteed at this point, in my opinion.
It sounds like a defense core that could get them into that wild card spot or 3rd place in the division. So
yeah,
I mean,
and the other big thing is that 3 of those guys are right defensemen, not right-handed, but right defensemen in Jones, DeHaan, and Murphy.
with Seth Jones too, you're getting someone that can play half the game, making excellent decisions and putting up points for you.
Yeah.
And that
He
just
had a
can
bit
be
of a down year last year, let's be honest, but so did all of Columbus.
Yeah. Oh yeah, all of Columbus. He's going to be rejuvenated. That's why he signed the 8-year contract.
Yep.
Sticking a bit on the Chicago defensive theme here, we got Nick Hjalmarsson not really announcing his retirement. I guess he sort of did, but reports were that he's a pretty quiet guy and he wasn't going to go and throw himself or ask for a retirement party. He was just going to go, ride off into the night, go back to Sweden, and that would be it. But I mean, not a superstar at all.
No.
But I mean, just perfectly slotted as a 3-4 defenseman, a left-handed defenseman who could skate well, who can move the puck, make decent decisions. I mean, not that I'm ever going to be in the NHL or ever would be in the NHL, but I would picture myself as a Hjalmarsson type player. I really like how he seemed really low maintenance.
Bold.
And he you put him in the right spot and everything's fine. He does what you need of him. And I even wrote down some stats. Let's go over his career stats.
Do it.
10 seasons with the Hawks, 4 seasons with the Coyotes, 821 games, 172 points. Only 25 of those were goals, 332 in the penalty minutes. But I did want to highlight the 3 Stanley Cup seasons with the Hawks. 2010, 22 games, 21 minutes average ice time, and it keeps going up. 2013, 23 games, 23 minutes, 15 seconds average ice time, and 2015, another 23 games, 26 minutes average ice time. So those are the Hawks championship seasons, and that guy is playing nearly half the game. He's well up above 20 minutes each game. So that's just a player who plays his role, and he's not a superstar, so he's not going to, get those accolades, but just like a really solid player and just does everything you need him to do. I really think that should be recognized. Kind of like a bit of a workhorse, but not your number one guy.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and you'll remember him on those Chicago Cup teams. You'll remember him on those playoff runs, not because he was flashy and did a whole lot offensively, but because whenever there was a big defensive play, he always seemed to be involved in it somehow. Whether he was the one doing it or he was the other defenseman on the play or whatever, like he just was always there. So yeah, you're gonna remember John Wilson. I loved watching him play. It's a sad day when you have to see top players go, but I think he was at the end of his career. I think it was time.
Yeah, it was time, and good for him for good for him for getting his paychecks and getting out of the game seemingly on his own schedule and healthy.
Yeah.
And he's got his wits about him and he's got his health, so good for him. Kind of sticking with the Coyotes, Oliver Ekman-Larsson traded to the Vancouver Canucks by the Coyotes. I guess this makes Vancouver better. You got Quinn Hughes.
Oh no, this makes Vancouver much better. This trade makes Vancouver a very solid team.
I'm not buying
because
it.
not only did they get Ekman-Larsson, but they also got Connor Garland in this deal.
Yeah, okay, that's a good second.
That's what I mean. So they got better, especially because they also got rid of 3 old contracts that no one wanted anyway. Maybe Roussel could have stayed with the team. Like, I'm not playing Beagle or Louis Eriksson consistently.
No.
It's just not happening.
They were happy to get rid of those contracts, and the problems maybe just come later on in the Ekman-Larsson contract when he's not playing. What is he at? I don't know the number. It's a large number.
He's at 8.25.
So 8.25, and if the play declines, and we don't know, I think it's 5 years left or 4 years left at that number
6.
as well. So there's 6 years left. So there's some time.
But he's 30.
He's 30. People are expecting some decline, but at the same time, a good defenseman who takes care of himself. Look at Giordano, right? I mean, he's 37, so
he's also just a freak of nature.
So maybe whatever. There's your example if you want to play in the league a long time. But Ekman-Larsson, I mean, the Coyotes, they're tanking. They're going after that number 1 pick next year. It looks like.
I just don't get it. Like, this was a team that 2 years ago we were saying was on the way up. They were doing well on the rebuild. They were bringing in some really good pieces. Clayton Keller looked to be like a lights out rookie. He was looking good. You had goaltending and Antti Ranta.
Just none of
What
it panned
happened?
out to
Like,
an
what happened?
yeah, well, none of it panned out to an elite level, and this just seems to be the cycle that Arizona's in, whether it is ownership or on the ice. It's looks somewhat promising.
But
It
the other
doesn't
thing
take.
is, like, the other moves that they have made this offseason, Ryan, have been mind boggling to me.
I think they're clearing out is what they're trying to do,
But they picked
and
up Andrew Ladd's contract and 2 seconds and a third from the Islanders. The second, and the third are conditional picks.
they're using their cap space availability.
Right? But for nothing. They didn't send the Islanders anything. And then they
That's
picked up
I know.
Shane Gostisbehere, a second and a seventh next year
Again, that's
for
just
nothing.
that's just a contract they're picking up along with the draft picks. For them, it doesn't matter. I don't expect Ladd to play, but Goss is Bear, whatever. Come on in. You have some NHL experience, but who cares? And it's the draft picks that they're just trying to accumulate now.
But, like, honestly, the only players that they brought in that might play for them this season, Gostisbehere will play. Like, I'm not going to pretend like he's not going to play. Outside of Gostisbehere, maybe Strawman, that they picked him up from Florida. He might play depending on how things shake out.
He'll play.
And Connor Timmins, if they can sign him.
Yeah, I wouldn't be signing there under normal circumstances. I wouldn't.
Oh, sorry, they did sign him to a 2-year contract worth $850,000 per year.
Okay, but yeah, they're tanking. It appears they're tanking.
I just don't get it.
Is this the year to tank though? Because who are the Connor Bedard is up in what 3 years? He's He's going to be the number one guy in 3 years. I think it is. And
Shane
then,
Wright's this year, I think.
okay, Shane. Okay, so there's reason to believe that this could be fruitful. But again, you got the lottery isn't so
Shane Wright's
lottery-ish.
this year.
Okay, Shane Wright's this year. Connor Bedard is the year after.
Yes.
So, I mean, I'd take my chances. If you're going to do that, it's the appropriate thing to do. Look at Buffalo tanked, and it could have worked out with Jack Eichel, but Buffalo is Buffalo. Also, Connor McDavid was that year as well. The Leafs tanked; they got Austin Matthews. It's fine because it turns your franchise around. You got to get through that crappy season because that player can turn things around. So
Yeah, but like if you look at the top eligible players, like outside of Wright, maybe Matthew Savoie.
they're going to play this year. They've all grown. They're all a year older because they're still young men.
No, but I'm just I'm usually pretty good with like
Stuff's-
players. Right?
Stuff's going to change. I know it's almost like a brand new world because now these guys are going to play, and you're going to see some breakout guys that you definitely didn't expect who come off the radar. But,
Jack Hughes, maybe
another Hughes. There you go.
the fourth Hughes.
New Jersey's kind of like, what? Another Hughes?
There's
another
one. Can we get the set?
Speaking of the draft, we have to get into what the Montreal Canadiens did in the first round of the draft. Montreal Canadiens with the 31st pick go ahead and select Logan Mailloux, London Knights, who, when he was in Sweden, I believe he's playing in Sweden.
Yes.
Yeah, he released some pictures, or a picture that he should not have, and gotten himself into legal trouble. And then, he didn't even share that. It's not like he shared that information when he got back from Sweden, but he found out that teams knew about it because they were interviewing him, and it was coming up in draft.
Well, no, it was public knowledge. Like, people knew about it because he was a prospect in the NHL. Like,
but let's face it, he didn't come back from Sweden and immediately say, "I made a mistake in Sweden. Please don't draft me." He did interviews, realized it was going to be an issue, and then decided to deal with it by saying, "Please don't draft me." Montreal says, "Oh, it doesn't matter because this is a good player and we need him," and they go ahead and draft this player. And this is just arrogant, pompous. I'm going to take out the fact that it's Montreal. This could be any team.
can you do that? You have that ability, right?
Let's say it's the Toronto Maple Leafs. I'd be absolutely disgusted that they went and did this. This is just considering hockey over uh over they're considering hockey over the victim, you know? It's completely ignorant, boneheaded, just stupid, and everything that you thought these people were in the NHL. They don't care about anything as long as you can play in the league. And Montreal just went ahead and proved that. And at first their explanation was, well, the next pick, this guy was just so good. If we didn't pick him, someone else would. Let someone else make that mistake. I mean, it was just so ignorant. So
Don't make the mistake in the first round.
I don't care. Don't draft him. And he said, "Don't draft me." And it's almost like Montreal was saying, you know what, we'll we know how to take care of you. We'll show you how to take care of this. He was doing it, and again, there's no consideration for the victim in this situation, the person who he shared the photographs with. Like they're not
shared the photographs.
Shared the photographs of. They haven't shown any care to that person. They said they would. Oh, Logan reached out to this person and has tried to apologize. Well, that doesn't matter. That means nothing. I mean, it was just and all their explanations, and then the owner released a memo trying to explain it and say we didn't handle it well. Well, guess when he released it? Right when free agency opened. So other people have their minds on other things, and it's just a disgusting gong show. And they think they're doing the right thing by saying, "Oh, we're not inviting him to camp." Like there's some sort of saints and saviors, and only the Montreal Canadiens can help this player rehabilitate. It's just disgusting all around.
Well, it doesn't sound like they think they're the only team that can help him rehabilitate. But they are going to do everything they can to help him rehabilitate, which I don't agree with selecting him in the first place, Ryan. I'm with you on that. But if you're going to select him, you need to at least do everything you can to help him rehabilitate. If you think that he is a good enough player and a good enough person to play on your team and be part of your organization, then yes, you need to do everything you can to help him rehabilitate, right?
So that's what they've said then by drafting him.
That's what they said.
This player did something.
He knows that he did something wrong. He's trying to make himself better. That's what they're trying to prove. And there's no way for us to know whether or not that's going to be true. There's no way until we see it.
Yeah, and again, it just...
And based on what he's saying, I think he is trying to take the proper steps. But again, it's too early to tell. Like every time he said something in the last 3-4 weeks, it sounds like he's trying to take the proper steps to become a better person so that he can make his dream come true, right?
Yeah. Now, the way I look at it, if you look at it from the victim's perspective...
I know. I agree with you.
Yeah, I know you agree with me. I just want to get these points out because the victim, it's like, oh, you did these stupid things and you're rewarded by being drafted to the NHL. And you're rewarded, playing for a prestigious team. And you're rewarded by going to the first round. And you're rewarded by getting your side of the story out on national television, Yep. And that's what Montreal just opened that door by ignoring this player's request. And really, in the end, what they cared about was getting a good player for their hockey team.
Yeah, which is wrong.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are more important than having a good player on your hockey team. And I mean, if I say any more, I'm just repeating myself.
Yeah, we're kind of going in a circle now.
Yeah, it was a dumb move. I don't have any positives to say from it, and anything that Montreal comes out with to say, oh, we're doing the right things, look how we're helping this player, it's all just bogus to me at this point, because you've already made the mistake and now you have to do and say these things so that people don't crap on you more.
Well, my thought going into the draft was if someone was going to draft him in the later rounds, like not the first round, I honestly didn't think a team was going to take him in the first round. I thought maybe second round, right? Like end of the second round, maybe someone would take a flyer on him because he is a first round talent. Like if you look at his gameplay on the ice, he is a first round talent in this draft class. But he didn't want to be drafted, so I figured a team might take a shot at him later on. I thought whatever team was going to take a shot at him was going to need to do everything possible to help him get to rehab himself, his mental game, as well as his image outside of it, and as well as the victim. And I think that's the one thing that's not being talked about. Is Montreal doing anything to help the victim? Is Montreal doing anything to help Logan help the victim? There's no talk of that. There's no way we're going to know that. I know that's not going to come up in any conversation. Montreal will not admit to anything, nor will the victim, because she probably doesn't want anything to be said anyway at this point about what's going on. So I'm not going to say that needs to be happening, but like there was going to be a team that was going to take him. I thought it was going to be later on, and I thought that whatever team took him needed to do the rehab steps. But it sounds like Montreal's doing it reactively as opposed to proactively and doing it as they were drafting him, knowing that they were drafting him. They're doing it because the backlash, and that's the problem.
Yeah, I think any team that was going to draft this player after the request to not be drafted is the problem in my eyes. And that may be, who knows, that may be the Leafs, who I love. You know, we'll never know which team had intentions of drafting him whenever. But just whoever thought about doing it, even after the request came to not draft him, just it's not unexpected, but it's very, very unfortunate and disgusting. But when we come back, we will be getting into more off-season hockey talk, including Philipp Grubauer signing with the Seattle Kraken. We will get into that when we come back right after this.
Hey everyone, this is Irfan Manji from Touchline Thoughts. We are an all-soccer podcast hosted by yours truly with guests every episode. We provide news, analysis, and opinions every episode as well. Touchline Thoughts is powered by the Garage Door Sports Network, and you can listen to us on your favorite podcatcher. Cheers.
Welcome back. 20 Minutes on Ice. Ryan Hazlitt, Nick McVicker here. And Nick, let's get into the other big story, I guess, because we're pumping the Colorado Avalanche tires this past season.
Yeah, we were.
And their starting goalie, Philipp Grubauer, does not resign. Vezina finalist, does not resign with the team. In fact, he will play with the expansion, Seattle Kraken. First of all, I'm surprised that he didn't resign with the Avalanche. That is a great situation. Obviously, he wanted too much money or term. I didn't hear what the issue was there. But
he was just the offer was better. Like I don't think the Colorado offer was necessarily bad. I just think the Seattle one was better because they had more cap space to work with because they barely signed anybody.
Are you surprised that he left Colorado? I was really shocked that he actually. I kind of just ignored the fact that he was a UFA because I was like, he's going to go back to Colorado. That's the situation for him.
I am a little surprised, but at the same time, like I'm not surprised because he got more money probably, or he got longer term. I'm not sure what it is. I don't think it was significantly more money or longer term, but it was enough that said, hey, I'm going to go here. And they said I might have a chance to be the number one. I was surprised it was Seattle just because they had just signed Drieger and they said that he was going to get a shot at the number one. So I'm like, that just sounds like you're setting yourselves up for a very, very bad goaltending situation. And who knows, maybe Drieger ends up in Colorado.
Like we said all throughout the play. Yeah, I know that would be interesting.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, we said all throughout the playoffs and the regular season, Colorado is a great team at limiting the shots on goal.
Yeah.
And I even have some stats here. So
they got a little bit in trouble in that Vegas series though.
They did, yeah. But I mean, that was a great strategy, right? Limit the chances.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So just some numbers here. Grubauer, in the games he played on average, faced 24.83 shots per game. Comparing it with some other guys who had higher numbers, Martin Jones in San Jose, 28.82. Thatcher Demko in Vancouver, 30.43. Vasilevsky on the Tampa Bay Lightning, Stanley Cup winner,
34.
Tampa Bay Lightning, 29.45 in his games. Those are average shots against. So, I mean, for me, he had the optimal situation in Colorado, but I guess I can understand sometimes when the money talks because I totally understand wanting to take care of your family. And as long as you're playing hockey in a situation you enjoy, I guess the Stanley Cup is just kind of a bonus sometimes.
And I can't blame him. Like, as I said, you're getting a chance to go to a new team where you can set your mark on this franchise. Like Fleury did for Vegas, you get a chance to set your mark. I don't know how good this team is going to be at limiting shots just because we haven't seen them play yet. So
Yeah,
I have no idea.
their forward group is not as good as Colorado. That's
No.
an understatement.
But does that mean that they're going to play more of a system style where they are going to try to limit and play more of a smarter defensive game and just try to counterattack and catch teams off with very similar to what Vegas did their first year where they surprised everyone? Because we didn't think Vegas's offense was very good, and yet that year I think they were like 4th in the league in goals or something.
Well, Seattle with Grubauer now, I do like their chances to push for a playoff spot.
Again, we want to go back to the standings here, Rye. Let's go back to the standings and
look at the teams in their division. I mean,
uh,
L.A., Anaheim, San Jose, Vancouver, a little bit better.
Vancouver will be better than I think they were this year because they won't have to deal with a massive COVID outbreak. Hopefully, that derailed their season.
Calgary is not going to put it together. I think Calgary's kind of done there. So I mean,
you got Vegas and Edmonton at the top.
Yeah.
And then 3rd, 4th, 5th are going to be all up for grabs between Vancouver, Calgary, and Seattle, in my opinion. Maybe LA. LA might figure it out.
Yeah, I'm not sold.
Just because they have so many good prospects coming through the system that they might be able to figure it out faster than Anaheim and San Jose, in my opinion. That's what I mean.
Definitely faster than Anaheim.
Well, yes. Well, but the difference is Anaheim has Gibson.
Yeah, I know, and they're wasting that guy would be a top goalie in the league.
So, anyways, beside the point.
Speaking of goalies, Darcy Kemper now is in Colorado, and is based on the system of limiting shots. I mean, this guy is a good goalie, and there's always been the impression that Kemper can push into, reaching up and touching the elite level. But can he get there now in a system in Colorado that really limits grade A chances? I think he can. I don't think Kemper's as good as Grubauer, but I think he can do as good a job in Colorado that Grubauer did.
Okay, so here's my question then, Ray. When Colorado got Grubauer, was he the same level that everyone sees Kemper at now? Because Grubauer was not seen as an elite goalie when he went to Colorado.
Oh, see, I felt that Grubauer was a good goalie. Ready to explode, yeah.
Ready to explode, absolutely. But hadn't exploded yet.
No, not
That's
yet.
Exactly what you just said about Kemper. You just said he has the ability to maybe touch the elite goaltender. That's exactly what you just said. Don't give me that face, right? That's exactly what you just said. So now we're going back and saying, is Kemper the same thing? In my opinion, I'm worried because I don't know if he is. But now I look at the stats. His last 3 years with Arizona, let's make that very clear. He was playing for Arizona. He had a 233 goals against average in 2018-2019 across 55 games, a 222 goals against average the next year, and a 256 goals against average this past year. And the only save percentage that scares me was this past year he was a 907. All the other ones were above 920.
The thing that scares me about Kemper is a bit of the injury.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bug, which seems to jump up on him. But he was recognized a few times, Hockey Canada for the World Championships. They called on Darcy Kemper a few times, and he played well there. And that's against good talent. That's a playoff settings. So, I mean, the potential is there for him to do well in Colorado. But just based on Grubauer's reputation when he went to Colorado, Grubauer's better, and I would think Grubauer's expected to be better.
Grubauer had one season though before he went to Colorado. Don't forget that. Like, he was in that Washington thing behind Holtby. That whole mess was Washington while they were trying to figure out how to win a cup.
Yeah, absolutely. So it'll be really interesting to see how that works out in Colorado. I think it can work out, but it all goes to hell if Kemper gets injured. On the Seattle front, we talked about it briefly, how maybe easy that division's going to be. Does this essentially tilt the scales in Seattle's favor in that division. For me, this went from I don't think they'll make the playoffs to yeah, I really think they can be a good defensive team who seriously challenges for a playoff spot now.
Okay. Well, I thought they were going to be a playoff team anyway, before the draft even, because I looked at their division. It's not hard to be a playoff team in that division right now. And honestly, outside of the top teams in the West, like if we're really, because it's going to be West versus East again, right?
Yes.
As far as I know. So if we take Vegas, Edmonton, Colorado, who else in that division did we say?
I mean, I'm looking at Seattle because you got Calgary, Vancouver.
Well, I was just trying to they don't even have to. I don't even think they're going to have to push very hard for top 3 in the division, because I don't think the wild card is going to be overly contested with the other division, right?
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about the
right.
wild
Winnipeg. Let's take Winnipeg. Let's take those 4 teams out. The Vegas, Edmonton, Winnipeg, Colorado. They'll be the top 2 in each division.
Yeah, I agree.
Then you got to find a third place team in each division. Maybe that's
talking
Seattle, but if not, let's say Vancouver finishes 3rd in the division, right?
I can hear that, yeah.
And let's say St. Louis finishes 3rd in the Central.
So now you're battling.
These teams in the Central: Dallas, Nashville, Minnesota, maybe Chicago.
Yep.
Maybe
equal. Yeah.
Equal. Arizona.
Nope.
And in your own division, you're battling Calgary.
I don't think there's
Anaheim.
Yeah. Nope.
LA.
Nope. Not yet.
Again, depending on how good the rookies come up and play.
Yep.
And San Jose.
Yep. Not yet.
You just need to be better than you only have one team better than you, and I don't know if any of those teams are better than them. So
yeah, you're right. I like Seattle's chances, and I think that so.
But this was me predicting this before the draft.
So for me, then Grubauer does tilt the scales because I was saying no playoffs.
Yeah.
Before Grubauer signing, and now with the Grubauer signing, I'm saying playoffs. You were saying playoffs all along, so this doesn't necessarily.
It might tilt the scales a little bit more in my head, but not much. The only thing that I could see them doing really, really good in is finishing second. The highest I see them finishing is second in the division, right? Just because Edmonton, we don't really know what they're going to have for goaltending. Like Koskinen.
Smith and Koskinen.
Well, Smith isn't signed yet, is he?
Oh, yeah, they re-signed him. 2 years,
so he's re-signed.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's been a busy couple of weeks.
Yeah, I can understand.
Okay, so Smith and Koskinen are your goalies, with Alex Stalock as number 3.
Yeah.
And Vancouver are the 2 teams that will potentially finish ahead of them in our opinions, right?
Yep. They have a chance.
If Demko goes down, and you're trusting Jarro Halak with that Vancouver team, like I like Halak, I just don't know if I trust him with that Vancouver team. He was fit for that Boston system. I don't know why he left.
I know,
especially because Rask might not play.
Something's odd in Boston. Like it feels like it's falling away.
That'll be another week's conversation, Ryan.
Yeah. Let's go. Into the East, and let's talk about Jack Eichel is still a Buffalo Sabre. I really thought he would be moved around the draft, but it didn't happen. There was some reports maybe things are percolating. Again, to me, Buffalo's going to drop the ball here. In these superstar trades, you never get full value back. You have to hope that one of these prospects or draft picks that you get hits big, and it's kind of like an out of nowhere type deal, and that usually doesn't happen. So you just have to do the best that you can in getting people back. Boston's GM, Kevin Adams, a bit inexperienced in the GM position. I know he's been there now, I think about a year, but I mean, he was kind of plucked out of nowhere so Buffalo could save money. But I mean,
he was already in their organization.
I know, but they didn't go outside to get anybody with experience.
No, I was agreeing with you.
Yeah. So, I mean, I feel like Buffalo's already blowing this. Eichel does not want to play there.
No.
It was even pointed out on Twitter recently that he's taken down all mention of the Buffalo Sabres out of his Twitter profile. So,
hey, it's better than Ben Simmons in the NBA, who's not talking to anyone in his organization trying to force a trade. Like, at least
Yeah,
Eichel's still having conversations with the Sabres. He just
and
might not like them.
the whole medical thing. I mean, if
Well, no, he was
this,
hurt last year. Let's not
I know he
deny
was hurt.
that fact.
He wants to handle it a different way, and the Sabres want to handle it
Yeah.
their own way.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just time to move on from him, obviously. But I think they've already blown it. So you have to wonder: will Jack Eichel be asked to report to training camp a month and a half from now?
Do you want
And
my
I
honest
think-
opinion on this?
Well,
A?
I'll tell you. Go ahead. Yeah.
No, sorry, Ryan, you finish, and then I'll give my thoughts.
I was gonna say that because I think Buffalo's blowing this already. That just because of circumstances, they will say, yeah, we fully expect Jack Eichel to be in training camp. I don't think he'll report, but that's what I think they'll expect him to report.
So I'm on the opposite end. I didn't think that they were going to get a deal done by the draft. I thought it was going to happen in this month. So they still have 3 weeks to do it in my head. Do I still think they're going to blow it? Absolutely, but that's just because it's the Sabres. But I do think it gets done. If it doesn't get done, he will report to training camp, in my opinion. And the reason is because he wants out so bad that he needs to prove to other teams that he's worth whatever they're going to give up.
I would disagree.
I understand the other side of it because he doesn't want to get hurt and he doesn't want to play for the organization and he's trying to force a trade like the NFL players do. It just doesn't happen in the NHL as often. Sitting out doesn't really work in the NHL. So I think he reports so that NHL teams can see him and be like, okay, this guy is committed enough to still go out there and train with this organization, for lack of a better term, because they're really not an organization. They're a mess. And he's still trying to prove that he wants to play in this league despite everything. So then someone might be like, okay, we think this guy can still be the elite talent that he was drafted to be. And they might make the deal and find a way to make a deal. Whereas if he doesn't show up to training camp, then the questions go up like, well, we don't have to offer anything to Buffalo. And Buffalo's not taking anything less than at least 50 cents on the dollar for his value, in my opinion.
And I see it the complete other way. I think the league knows what the Jack Eichel package is, what you're getting with Jack Eichel. You're getting
No, they do,
one...
but do you know his commitment level?
I think
that's the biggest question.
I don't think it's in question, and for me, from Jack Eichel's standpoint, I don't think it becomes a question if you don't report, because if you do report, you're risking injury. You're also doing a favor for the Sabres and providing them with value when they haven't given you the same thing in return. So if you don't report, now you're putting the Sabres on the clock. You're also putting yourself on the clock, because if you're not playing by December 31st, you don't play for the whole year. So, I mean, maybe at that point he shows up to Buffalo, but I don't, if I'm Jack Eichel, I don't report. It's like, you trade me, I'm done with you. I'm not here to help you out. And I don't think there's any questions throughout the league about his commitment or what player he is currently. So that's obviously, you and I see it from completely different ends of the spectrum here. So you're saying he will report to prove himself and to kind of, drum up a trade with his play, where I'm saying he's already proven everything he needs to do, and that he won't report to try and force Buffalo's hand. But we still have a month and a half until training camps, roughly a month and a half. So there's lots of time to get a Jack Eichel deal done, which I think is in the best interest of the Buffalo Sabres.
It's in the best interest of everybody.
We're going to take our final break here coming up. But when we come back, we will fire up the summertime randomizer. The randomizer's out on the beach. I'm going to go call it in. It's going to put a shirt on finally for once, and we'll fire it up.
It's not going to be happy with you.
No, we'll see if it's at full operating capacity. But when we come back, we're going to fire up the randomizer and figure out what we're playing right after this. Welcome back. 20 minutes on ice. I'm Ryan. That's Nick. And it is time. I've brought the randomizer in from the beach. It's time to fire it up and see what we'll be playing for this summertime edition. Here we go. All right, Nick. Today we will be playing Teammates. So,
geez, we haven't played that one in a while.
Yeah, I mean, we got enough randomizer games here that it's spreading out the action nicely. We haven't done anything in a while. What? It's been nearly a month since we've done our last
3
show.
weeks.
So
Sorry,
3 weeks.
I was busy.
No one should be sorry. I mean, whatever. It's the summer. We're enjoying the summer. But as far as the randomizer, we're going with Teammates. So I will have a player that I'll name. He'll be our primary player. And then I'll name 5 other players one by one. And it's up to you, Nick, to tell me if those 5 players were ever a teammate of the primary player. Did I make that clear? I got that.
Okay. I'm clear. We're good.
All right. So I've decided.
I have a player too. We can go 1 for 1 here. So you go first. I'll go second.
Perfect. Okay. So my theme, I wanted to make it half easy on you. So my theme is the Colorado.
So kind.
We'll start with the Colorado Avalanche.
Oh, okay.
Gabriel Landeskog. Is my primary player.
Oh God, you're gonna catch me on my own team, man.
I have 5 guys listed here, Nick. We'll go one by one. You tell me if they were ever an NHL teammate of Gabriel Landeskog.
NHL teammate. So no
NHL
Swedish teammates. All right.
No junior, no international. We're saying NHL.
Okay, fine.
Player number 1, Joe Sakic. Was Joe Sakic ever a teammate of Gabriel Landeskog?
Yes, he was, because he was the year before McKinnon was drafted. He was still playing, I thought.
He was never a
really?
teammate.
Was it the year after that Sakic retired that they drafted Landeskog?
Perhaps. I don't remember exactly when Sakic, but I wanted to check this one out. And Joe Sakic was never a teammate of Gabriel Landeskog.
Already behind the ball. Jeez.
Well, we got 4 more names, so we'll see how you do here. Name number 2, was Ryan O'Reilly ever a teammate of Gabriel Landeskog?
Yes.
That's correct.
I'm confident with that one.
That's kind of my lob in there. So from 2011 to 2015, Ryan O'Reilly was a teammate of Gabriel Landeskog. All right, number 3, Milan Hajduk. Was Milan Hajduk ever a teammate? He's thinking real hard. He's looking.
Yes, he was.
You are correct. From 2011 to 2013.
I had to think about that. I said no originally. I'm like, wait a minute, no, because he retired after Sakic. And I could have sworn that Sakic and Landeskog had 1 year together, but if not, it was the year after Sakic retired that we drafted Landeskog. So
yeah, I went to Hockey DB as my fact finder here, and I did not see Joe Sakic listed on the roster with Gabriel Landeskog. Before you check that out, Nick, because I don't want you to get any answers, was Peter Forsberg... I'm
looking at my own players.
Was Peter Forsberg ever a teammate of Gabriel Landeskog?
No.
That is... Well, I thought that you're correct.
Sweden, maybe, but...
I thought I might get you on the 2 games that Forsberg came back for in whatever season. I think it was like 2009 or 2010.
That was before... See, now I'm just going based off when Sakic retired, so...
I thought I might get you there on the Forsberg 2 games, and then he was like, no, I can't come back. All right, and my final player, was Jerome Iginla ever a teammate of Gabriel Landeskog? You are correct. 2014 to 2017, Landeskog and Iginla played together. Not bad there, Nick. You were 4 for 5.
4 for 5.
So good. I mean, you did the Colorado Avalanche well there.
Oh, good. Whew. I was worried.
All right, you got your primary player for me?
I do have my primary player, Rye. My primary player is Fleury. We've talked about him this whole show. I might as well roll with the kid.
It's funny because I thought about maybe doing Fleury.
I'm glad you didn't, because I would have been in a lot of trouble.
All right, Marc-Andre Fleury. Who is possible teammate number 1?
Marc-Andre Fleury. Possible teammate number 1 is Mario Lemieux.
Good question. Mario Lemieux. Now, Mario Lemieux played that first season with Crosby Is Fleury on the team yet? I think Fleury was on the team. I'm going to go yes. They were teammates.
Yes, they were.
All right. Perfect.
Very good. Very good, Rye. All
Yeah,
right,
Mario-
the next one
Yep.
is goaltender Johan Hedberg.
I'm going to go with no. I think Hedberg was gone after they drafted Fleury.
It was the year before, so you were close. But yes,
All right.
he was not a teammate with Mr. Marc-Andre Fleury.
Okay. Yeah, because I
So
think
2 for
I
2.
think that 2 for 2. I think that first goaltending tandem, that first year there that he was there with the yellow pads, was him and I think it was JS O'Ban.
Yeah.
All right. There
Actually, it was a trio.
Andy Chiodo.
No.
Their new goalie coach? No.
Nope. Well, he was there, but he was the fourth guy. He played 8 games.
Okay. They went through 4 guys.
Well, they went through 5 because Martin Brochu had
Brochu,
1
nope.
game.
Okay, of course he did.
Sebastian Caron
Caron, yes.
had 40 games played that year.
Yeah,
Fleury
I
only
forgot
played
about
21
that.
in his first year.
Yeah, and they send him down and all this kind of stuff. Yeah.
All right, next up, the Czech legend, Martin Straka.
I thought you were going to say Tomas Vokun.
Thomas, no, I'm only doing one goalie is enough, okay?
Marty Straka. Now, I know Straka did play for the Penguins. Was he there during Fleury times? This is I don't know the real answer. Shot in the dark guess is, I'm going to say yes, he was a teammate.
He was a teammate, yes.
All
yes,
right.
He was.
I got that completely by guess. I did not know that. I knew Straka played for the Pens. I didn't know they were teammates.
Yeah. All right. Next up, Alex Kovalev, right winger. Alex Kovalev. Did he play with Marc-Andre Fleury?
Again, I remember him playing for the Penguins, but when did he do it? I'm going to say yes. Again, another guess. I'm going to go with yes.
You're very lucky because his initial stint with the Penguins ended the year before Fleury was drafted. But he came back in 2010, 2011.
Did he? Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I was probably
He's a
only
cup
thinking
winner.
that. Really? Okay. I had no clue. I didn't even remember that. So,
Yeah.
But I mean, lucky guess, right?
Yeah. All right. And last, but certainly not least on the list, Rye.
If I get this, I'm 5 for 5,
If you
right?
get this, you're 5 for 5.
Let's see what I can do.
I just want to. I want to get all the stats before I say the name. So hold on. Let me pull up this guy's page just so I can have it in front of me. See how many, if any, years or how many years prior to he was on the team with Fleury.
Oh no, this is going to be interesting.
Montreal Canadiens GM Marc Bergevin.
Oh, okay. He played for every team in the league, so this one's going to be tough. He was with St. Louis, but I feel like he retired with St. Louis, but I'm not certain of that. I know he played for the Penguins, but I'm going to say no. And again, that's my third guess in a row without actually knowing the answer. I'm just throwing no out into the universe and seeing if I'm going to be right.
Unfortunately, you are wrong on that one.
Darn.
Bergevin did play Fleury's first year.
Okay.
Trying to find out how many games he played. He played 52 games with the Penguins that year and had 9 points as a defenseman. So that's not actually that bad.
Yeah. So
it was a -2, or sorry, -8. He was a -8. Lemieux was a -2.
Yeah, but those Penguins teams sucked to begin with.
I know. So -8 as a defenseman is really not that bad.
Took Crosby I think 3 years to get to the playoffs. So that was good though. We both went 4 for 5 there. I like that one. So that was pretty good there. I like that.
Considering I threw that together pretty quickly, I think I'm rather impressed.
And there is the horn that brings an end to this 20 minutes on ice summer edition. Be sure to subscribe to the show. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you get notified whenever new videos come up. You can follow me on Twitter at Ryan_H16. You can follow Nick on Twitter at Nick McVicker. And the show's on Twitter and Instagram at 20 Minutes on Ice. Of course, you can head over to Garage Door Sports garagedoors.com anytime and find us and all of the other network shows under the shows tab. Now, we will be taking a more break here during the summer because we like to enjoy our summers, but we will definitely we will definitely be back. I think we'll at least get one episode in before the
Oh, absolutely.
preseason and
We'll have
training camps.
we'll have one, maybe two episodes in August, and we'll see how it goes, and probably then we'll start it back up in September more consistently.
Absolutely, we will be back full time in September to discuss all of the
training
hockey
camp gossip.
Love it. Love training camp. I love.
No, but at least training camp gives us stuff to talk about, though.
Yeah, that's true, and we can get it back to our players of the week and 3 hot, 3 not.
It's very hard to do that in training camp.
Oh, I can't wait to pull out those names. Like, oh yeah, Alex Justaronov had 9 goals.
You were about to say Alex Nedeljkovic. I know you were.
I was trying not to say that, yeah, but you get the idea of what I'm saying. So, but yes, and if you joined us on Twitch, thank you for joining us. Anytime we have a show, you can catch us on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/Garage Doors Sports Network. Until then, thank you for listening and goodbye, everybody.